Chapter 13. Of a moment of profound connection amidst the applause and the anticipation of what lies beyond. The velvet beneath Carrie's fingers felt like accusation. She sat in the private box above the Royal Court Theatre, hyper-aware that half the ship now knew about the question, her question, that had supposedly demolished Professor Crispin Shrike. Below them, every seat was taken. Latecomers sat on the stairs, the overflow lined the walls, and the air thrummed with the particular electricity that preceded public bloodletting.
Christ.
Gideon breathed, leaning forward to survey the packed house.
It's Wimbledon Centre Court. They're actually holding their breath.
Can you blame them?
Elspeth's opera glasses caught the light as she scanned the crowd.
After what we heard about this morning, this is better than anything on Netflix.
Thea's hand found Carrie's arm, warm and steadying.
You really lit a fuse this morning, didn't you?
Before Carrie could respond, could explain that she'd never meant to spark anything, the lights dimmed. Nick Mackenzie strode onto the stage, dinner jacket impeccable, smile suggesting he knew exactly what kind of powder keg he was about to light.
Ladies and gentlemen,
His voice carried perfectly to the furthest reaches.
welcome to what promises to be the most vigorous discussion of our voyage. We've called it Bringing History to Life, though I understand the crew have dubbed it The Duel at 8:30.
Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. 1,000 programs rustled like autumn leaves.
On my left, please welcome Maeve Penhaligon, best-selling author of 49 novels, queen of emotional archaeology, and a woman who's never met a historical period she couldn't make pulse with passion.
Maeve swept onto the stage in deep blue silk that moved like water, each step calculated for maximum impact. The applause was immediate, warm. Here was their champion, their storyteller, their heart.
And on my right, Crispin Shrike, historian, author, guardian of the factual record, and a man whose dedication to accuracy is so legendary, I'm told he once spent 3 months confirming the thread count of Regency bedsheets.
Crispin emerged differently than he had that morning. The dinner jacket was armor, yes, but lighter somehow. He moved like a man approaching something inevitable rather than defending against it. The applause was curious, expectant. Would this be the same pompous academic who'd been so thoroughly dismantled? The scent of dust and expensive perfume mingled in the box. Carrie's throat felt tight.
Now then,
Nick settled between them like a referee at a particularly elegant boxing match.
shall we begin with first principles? Maeve, you've written that history without heart is just archaeology. Care to elaborate?
Maeve crossed her legs, completely at ease.
Oh, Nick, starting with the provocative quotes. How delicious.
She turned slightly, including both Crispin and the audience in her smile.
But yes, absolutely. Facts are bones, darling. Stories are what make them dance.
An interesting proposition,
Crispin replied, his tone dry but not unkind.
though one must be careful. We are historians and novelists, not mediums at a séance. The dead deserve the dignity of their actual lives, not the ones we find more narratively convenient.
The audience chuckled, surprised by his wit. Maeve's eyes lit with genuine appreciation. A professional recognizing another professional.
Better necromancy than taxidermy.
She shot back without missing a beat.
At least my corpses have blood in their veins.
Taxidermy preserves the specimen as it was.
Crispin countered, leaning forward slightly.
Your approach, while undoubtedly entertaining, risks creating a griffin, a splendid beast, I grant you, but one that never actually existed.
Consent?
Maeve's laugh sparkled.
They're dead, darling. I rather think the statute of limitations has expired.
Has it?
He leaned forward.
When you write torrid romances between people who may have barely met, aren't you essentially spreading posthumous gossip?
The exchange was faster now, a tennis match played at championship speed.
I prefer emotional speculation based on careful research.
Maeve said.
Unlike some, I don't believe the past was populated entirely by automatons who only cared about treaty dates.
The question is
Nick intervened.
whether historical fiction has a responsibility to accuracy or to story. Maeve, you've said story wins every time.
Because story is how humans understand the world.
Maeve replied, finding her rhythm again.
We don't remember facts, we remember narratives. When I write about a convict woman in 1853, I'm not just recording that she existed. I'm asking readers to feel what she felt, to understand history from the inside out.
But you can't know what she felt.
Crispin countered.
You're projecting modern sensibilities.
Oh, spare me the temporal purity lecture.
Maeve stood, energy crackling from her.
You think fear has changed? Love, grief, a mother losing her child in 1853 hurt exactly the same as one does now. That's not projection, that's human nature.
Human nature filtered through 21st century assumptions.
As opposed to what? Your supposedly objective stance?
Maeve was on her feet now, pacing the small space between the chairs, her voice ringing with indignation.
You think you're not filtering? Every choice you make, what to include, what to leave out, which sources to trust, that's interpretation. At least I admit I'm interpreting.
There's a difference between interpretation and invention.
Is there? When you write dialogue for Napoleon, aren't you inventing? When you describe someone's thoughts based on a letter, isn't that speculation?
Speculation based on evidence.
Evidence?
Maeve stopped, looking directly at Crispin.
Always evidence with you, as if evidence tells the whole story. What about the dreams of illiterate servants? The fears of women who couldn't write? The loves that had to hide?
I'd rather be accurate than entertaining.
Crispin began, then stopped. The words hung in the air, unfinished. His mouth opened, closed. He looked suddenly lost, like an actor who'd forgotten his lines. He ran a hand through his hair, the gesture unexpectedly boyish for a man in a dinner jacket.
I was about to say,
He tried again, faltered.
well, I was about to say something terribly clever and definitive. It's what I've been saying for 20 years. And I find, rather alarmingly, that I'm not sure I can finish the sentence, or if I did, whether I'd believe it myself. This is unexpected.
The rustle of 1,000 programs, the gentle coughing, the shifting in seats, it all just stopped. The silence was sudden and absolute. Beside Carrie, Elspeth gripped Gideon's hand.
What changed?
Nick asked softly, though his expression suggested he knew exactly what had changed.
Someone asked me a question this morning.
Crispin said, his words coming faster now, colliding into each other with charming disorder.
A rather brilliant and frankly bloody inconvenient question about whether the ghosts I write about would be disappointed in me.
His eyes began to search the boxes, and Carrie felt her heart rate accelerate.
At first I was furious.
He continued.
How dare some stranger psychoanalyze me based on 40 minutes of academic posturing? But that wasn't what she was doing at all. She was holding up a mirror.
His gaze moved systematically, left, centre, right. And Carrie knew with terrible certainty he was looking for her.
And let me be terribly clear,
he said, his voice finding its professorial authority again.
They wouldn't be disappointed in my facts. My facts are impeccable. The research is sound. If Letitia Cameron owned a particular brand of teacup, I can assure you, I know its maker's mark and its shipping manifest from Staffordshire.
A ripple of knowing laughter moved through the crowd.
No, the hypocrisy, the ghastly bit.
His voice softened, became more intimate despite the size of the room.
Is that I write about people of immense passion, of breathtaking courage, and I live my life like an annotated bibliography. all columns and cross-references. I've been so obsessed with the mechanics of the past that I've forgotten to appreciate the music.
Maeve had stepped back, arms crossed, watching him with something between fascination and respect.
It's led me to think about Jane Austen, actually.
Crispin glanced down at his hands, then back up.
She didn't have to research the Regency. She was in it. She saw the flickers of longing across a crowded ballroom. She understood the terror of social ruin in a misplaced word. She didn't invent feeling. She observed it with a perception so keen it was almost supernatural. She told the absolute truth of her world, but she made it a story.
He paused, looking momentarily bewildered by his own revelations.
The question that's been plaguing me all day is, what would Jane do?
A self-deprecating laugh escaped him.
She wouldn't just catalogue Letitia Cameron's glass plates and flash powder purchases. She'd understand that those photographs weren't evidence. They were acts of love, weren't they? Attempts to stop time, to hold a face, a feeling, just for a moment longer.
His voice caught slightly.
My manuscript has all the details of the camera, but nothing of the woman holding it, or the soul she was trying to capture. It's a technical manual for a box of ghosts.
As he spoke about capturing a soul, his eyes finally found Carrie's box. Found her. The distance between the stage and the balcony collapsed into nothing. It wasn't a look. It was a target acquisition. A lock. Suddenly, she was the only other person in the room. He was no longer speaking to the audience, but to her alone, explaining something only she could understand.
Well, Crispin,
Maeve said, breaking the spell with a warm smile.
welcome to the party. We've been waiting for you.
She stepped closer to him, professional rivalry forgotten.
So, what would Jane do? That's a much more interesting question than what thread count were the bed sheets?
The audience laughed, tension dissolving.
But how?
Crispin asked, turning to her with genuine curiosity.
How do you take the facts, the unassailable, non-negotiable facts, and find the story? How do you honour the truth of the person without putting words in their mouth?
You start with empathy.
Maeve replied.
You look at one of Cameron's photos. You have the facts. Who it is, when it was taken. Now ask the questions Jane would ask. Why is her chin tilted that way? Is that sadness in her eyes? Or just fatigue from holding the pose? What happened just before the shutter clicked? The story isn't in inventing new facts, darling. It's in the space between the facts you already have. That's where the heart is.
The space between the facts.
Crispin repeated, as if tasting the words. His eyes found Carrie again. The tension around his mouth eased, and for the first time, she saw the man from the library looking out from the stage. The shift was so stark it felt like a punch to the gut. Nick cleared his throat.
This has been absolutely fascinating, but I'm afraid we're running short on time. Final thoughts, Maeve?
Only that I hope Crispin's next book shows what happens when precision dances with passion.
She said with a theatrical wink.
I might even buy it.
And you, Crispin?
I think
He paused, his gaze still locked on Carrie.
I owe someone a very large thank you for seeing what I couldn't or wouldn't.
Beside Carrie, Thea clapped, a lonely sound in the great space. The Allcrofts joined in. Wider applause began handsomely, then swelled into a roar, a genuine ovation that shook the floorboards of their box. But Carrie barely heard it. Crispin was still looking at her, and in his gaze was something that made the whole theatre blur at the edges, leaving only him in sharp focus. Not just acknowledgement, not just gratitude, but recognition. Of what, she wasn't sure. Nick was speaking, wrapping up, thanking them both. Maeve was taking theatrical bows. The house lights were coming up, breaking the spell of stage lighting. Around her, Gideon was saying something about it being better than theatre. Elspeth was dabbing at her eyes. Thea was squeezing her arm. But Carrie could only watch as Crispin stood at the edge of the stage, still looking up at their box, as the crowd began to file out. He raised his hand slightly, not quite a wave, more a question. "What now?" the gesture seemed to ask. She didn't have an answer. But as she stood to leave, she found herself nodding once. An acknowledgement, a response, a possibility. His smile was small, private, meant only for her.
Come on,
Thea said gently.
let's get you a drink. I think you've earned it.
As they filed out of the box, Carrie looked back once more. The stage was empty now, but somehow she could still feel the weight of that gaze, the public declaration that had been intensely, impossibly private. Tomorrow they'd dock in Hobart. Lucy would arrive. Normal life would resume. But tonight something had shifted, cracked open, begun. The question was no longer about ghosts or disappointment. The question was, what happened when someone saw you, really saw you, across a crowded room and refused to look away?